When I was a kid, what our parents worried about was television time, called the boob tube. You know, when you say being anxious, that's a foreign thing to me.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that would feel like. I mean, I remember being bored.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how to be bored. It's been replaced by the anxiety. It's based off of gambling.
Now we're seeing this with computers that probably even more severe. Would you compare those two? I mean, can you see, I mean, before that, our parents would probably say it was a radio.
What do you want to do with your life? Because people tell you like, oh, I'm gonna scroll, I'm gonna do this. This is addictive, it's fun. I see a car crash or this, and which we should not be seeing. That's a scary thing. And we go from like puppy videos to something about suicide or something.
I do like the talking puppy videos.
I know.
Pickleball Fountain of Youth with Hall of Famer Steve Peranto.
Hey, this is Steve Peranto with the Pickleball Fountain of Youth, and today our guest is Dr. Ashley Hotz. And Ashley, could you tell us why you're here today?
I am a researcher expert in digital wellness or social media wellness. And what that basically does is look at people's relationship with technology. I'm a professor right now at the University of Portland, so that's my main gig, but I'm also a co-founder of the Disconnect Collective. And what I do is I help people with their technology addiction. You know, we have some designs with social media, with some of the digital tools that are out there that were intentionally made to be very addictive. And there's a lot of research, neuroscience that's come out seeing how much it is. So I like to spread the word and empower people so people can just live their best lives and hopefully find third spaces like recs or pickleball courts where they can get offline a little bit more.
And we did do an episode with Jason Johnson concerning addiction, and this was the healthy addiction was pickleball.
Yeah.
Although we could probably cross the lines there too, couldn't we?
You know, there's anything in too much is a problem and an extreme, but especially when it's things like short form content that is shown to like quite literally melt our brains and do things, that's definitely like a bad addiction.
Yeah.
But yeah.
When I first started teaching school, it probably wasn't the very first few years, probably about 5 or 6 years in, computers became something that our schools were having in the libraries. And this was like, hey, this is really cool. The kids are going to learn on these screens. And now we may have gone maybe too far with screen time. So
first, I'd just like to say digital wellness is the optimum state of well-being that you have while you're intentionally managing your own screen time. When it comes to the research, and I love research, I'm a professor, right? Like that's what I do. But there's also a lot of other things that we can look at outside of talking to people and how that impacts them. When it comes to children specifically, there's been some really alarming things that have been happening, which I was very excited for that court ruling. We've been following that case closely at the Disconnect Collective.
That was the ruling against Meta and YouTube.
And actually Snap and TikTok settled. So when you settle, right, you're saying, we know that we did this. And basically what the trial looked at, it was one of the first civil cases from users. There was a teenager who I don't think is a teenager anymore, but talked about how the platform was so addicted that they had to be on it, and there were a lot of things. And in the research we see if you have too much screen time, you can have a negative opinion about yourself and your body image. You can also have even so much as suicidal ideation. So this is very serious things. And internally in Meta, and I've been following this for years now, we had a whistleblower come out, and I think it was 2020 or 2021, Frances Haugen, who testified during this trial, talking about how internally in Instagram and in Facebook at the time, there were documents related to how can I get kids to spend more time on this? We know that this impacts especially young women. The decline in women's mental health started in, I think it was 2011 or so, when iPhone had come out with the first camera, the selfie, right? Men's mental health has been on the decline since like the 1970s steadily, and you can read more about this in Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation.
Did you say 70s?
1970s, yeah.
Okay.
Since
that's my era. So.
Yeah, since the work has changed, video games have been introduced, people are having more white-collar jobs, and especially like younger boys are told to sit still in school when like things, I just came back from visiting friends and they don't even have a gym at the brand new elementary school that they built, which is horrible. Everybody's so confused. The gym is the cafeteria. But yeah, so there's this part and there's some gender to it. It doesn't apply to everybody. But yeah, specifically with young women, self-esteem can be impacted dramatically because of social media, because of the things that the algorithm will feed. And there are internal documents in from Instagram specifically saying, okay, so we know this target market will spend more time. How can we make them stay on here longer, which is not a very nice thing to do, I'd say. So the ruling was fantastic. The jury found Meta and YouTube guilty. It was 70% Meta's fault, 30% YouTube's. YouTube's kind of saying, wait, we actually have a lot of child safety. Meta finally put in some child safety things about 2 years after Frances Haugen came out and leaked those internal documents. So it's interesting because, you're talking about computers and the introduction of that. Those aren't designed to be addictive experiences, but we in our community, we're looking at how is this similar to smoking? Because that was similar to what the tobacco companies did. You didn't know smoking was bad at first. Then research came out, oh, this is not good, really related to high risks of cancer and things like this. But tobacco companies and even vaping companies recently, right, they got in trouble for targeting kids because of the nice flavors and all of this stuff. So although I would say all of us are vulnerable, middle-aged, my-aged, elder people, there's not a lot of research that's come out. There is specific research showing how, do you know anything about the prefrontal cortex of your brain?
Well, I was a PE teacher, so I will say no.
Okay, wonderful.
I did have anatomy, physiology, but it's been a long time.
Yeah,
so.
I'm a marketing professor, so my background's in business. Neuroscience for me, I think, is so cool because the research that I do, I'm like, hey, Steve, on a scale of 1 to 10, how anxious are you? And people say in the science community, well, you're asking them how anxious you are, so you're priming them to be anxious. But what I love about neuroscience is you can't fake brain scans, you can't fake, the different tools that they're using, like there's the fMRI machine where you connect, your hand and you have your pulse and your sweat and all of this good stuff. With neuroscience, they're showing that with short form content, so reels, maybe a clip you're listening to now, there's good and bad with it, right? Your brain can't finish the arc of the story. So the prefrontal cortex is what controls our impulses. It helps us regulate our emotions. It is basically the symphony conductor that you have of your brain. And short form content will tax this part. So it's this part of your brain right here. If you're watching too much short form content, it actually will shrink it. And when that happens, it's stressing out other parts of your brain. So for kids, one of my pet peeves is when older people are like, kids these days can't get off their phones. Yes, and we as adults have designed the most addictive experiences ever, intentionally. And then all of those executives, if you see on different documentaries, there's a brand new one coming out, but they all say, would you let your children on this device? And they say no, 100% of them, which I don't think is very right. So with children, our brains finish developing, in the US, 21, yay, I can drink now. And it's like, yay, 25, my prefrontal cortex is finally developed. Because of short form content and all of the digital things we have around, it's actually closer to 30, 35 that we're finding that our brains are fully developed as full functioning adults. So when it comes to, and I think even for me, I'm turning 33 soon, I feel like I'm like, I could be there. But in my 20s, like my impulse control definitely wasn't as good.
Well, they use as babysitters too.
Yes.
You constantly see kids when they're sitting to make time go by fast, they give them a handheld computer and they're playing games and they're...
So they're actually recommending screen time usage like none between the ages 0 and 2. And then once you get to 2 to, I think toddler age is like 4 or 6, something like that, then you're only doing things like long form content. It's not any social media or short form content. It's important to moderate what content is out there because these platforms have not been responsible in what they push to people. But if there is any screen time between the ages of 0 and 2, it's only FaceTime with your family because that's where you're seeing social cues of like smiling and all of this. Australia has just banned social media for people under 16. That started in January, I believe. And France has introduced a bill. A couple of other European countries have done this. There is in the United States some legislation of people looking at this, but we always lag way behind. In Australia now, it's been, I think, 4 months or 3 months of this happening. There was an article recently written by The Guardian talking about interviewing some of the young people there who were like, it was kind of hard at first, but actually I really like my life a lot more. And Portland schools, right, Oregon schools.
That's what I was going to mention next is it's only been the past few years where kids had to turn in their phones at the beginning of the day. A couple of the students that I coach, I text and go, oh yeah, they're not going to see this until school's out, which is good probably.
It is good.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you feel about that with the schools doing that.
I think it's
and
great.
Is there a better way to do it than, do we lock them in a box? Do we, how do they do that?
My recommendation is to have it like in a space that's away. Research also shows if it's on you in your pocket, like I tell my students, I used to not be tech free because I was like, it's up to them to figure this out. But again, it's not their fault that these companies have designed something so addictive. Because even me, I don't have my phone on me very much anymore, but you have that phantom vibrating syndrome. So you think it's vibrating, but it's not. And research shows us that if it's on the desk, if it's in sight, like your productivity and your attention span goes down by like 25%. So I think it's important to have it locked away. In the US, it's a little more complicated because parents are like, I want to be in contact with my kids. What if something bad happens? But we're so conditioned, and that's what I like about Jonathan Haidt's book in The Anxious Generation. We're so conditioned to have to be in contact all the time. Like I had to be the bad person in my social circles to say, if there's an emergency and I need to hop on a plane, I will be there as soon as I can, but I'm not going to have my phone on me all the time because this is the way it is, or like by my bed when I'm sleeping. Like that is not a healthy thing for me to do. Statistically, we get worried, but crime hasn't necessarily increased significantly. It's been going down over the years, but I think because back in the day, there was not big amounts of reporting, there wasn't social media showing us all these bad things. Now it's in front of our eyes, and our brains were not designed to have this.
When I was a kid, what our parents worried about was television time. And that was, it was called the boob tube.
Yeah.
There were no computers, but I do remember sitting in front of that TV a lot and watching my 30-minute episode of The Addams Family or Bewitched, or and being addicted to those episodes, and you couldn't wait until the next one came out. And now we're seeing this with computers at probably even more severe. Would you compare those two? I mean, before that, our parents would probably say it was the radio.
Long form content like the Addams Family, or there was Baby Einsteins. That was like a whole thing, right? Make your baby smarter, and all this does not actually work. But it's not as difficult because our brains, because there is a story and it's not this minute and a half, 30 seconds, 6 seconds
When
reel.
we even put out instructional videos for pickleball, they get shorter and shorter all the time because viewers aren't going to sit through 3 minutes of instruction, when the popular ones right now are the instructor has a check mark or an X, no, that one's terrible. In 15 seconds, this is one you don't do this way, instead of listening to a complete lesson on the topic. Is that what's happening to our brains?
Totally, it is, and it's again not our fault doing it, but once we're aware of it, and my colleagues and I have done some research where if you are aware of it, you can have that lead to behavior change. So you have to be intentional, just like managing maybe like sweets or whatever. We need to be digitally well and healthy in how we're going to manage our time. Thankfully, we are in a kind of brain rot fatigue, and thanks to generative AI, I don't know if you have heard this, but AI slop is what my students call it. They do not like AI content. They do not like AI content. My students.
Is it because they can't tell what's real and what's not real?
No, they can call it out very well.
Okay.
They just are like, it's so messy. Like people are craving that human interaction. And I do think
then why is it being put out so often? I mean, this is what, in the last few months, I'm seeing AI videos all over. They're like horrendous car crashes, or the golf cart flips over in the highway, and then the police officer gets ran over, and you go, can that be real? And then you look, oh, it's not real. Why are they putting it out if we don't like it?
Because the platforms monetize it, and they encourage that kind of content. The algorithms, if it's more engagement, the more controversial it is. I mean, these companies have created an entire industry based off of our data wrecking our brains, which is very unfortunate, and they need to be held accountable, which I'm happy that it's finally starting. There are groups of people though, and our older, and I tell my students, tell your parents, tell your grandparents, tell your uncle and your aunt, tell everybody in your family this is what they're doing, because a lot of people aren't even aware that it's happening. For our students who are, and they're primarily Gen Z, and I know quite a few Gen Alpha that's coming up, they're like, nah, this is not it. They are not excited for it. So the less people to watch those, the algorithms will identify. Unfortunately, in the United States, when it comes to technology, our legislation just is way, way behind. We need to have some sort of content moderation. Some of this has been banned in other countries. I know a couple of years ago, so this was way ahead of the curve, but like deep fakes where people were, creating content where you're like Tom Cruise or whatever. That was banned in China years ago, but we don't do that here because there's just like not. And the big thing around the trial that was recent was social media companies were not held accountable by what people posted. And now it's like, maybe we should care about this because since our previous election, the moderation on Facebook is now gone. So like we are in this crisis of disinformation and I don't know, well, I do know what the solution is. We all need to go outside and hug a tree or something. But I don't know what it will take for the companies because they really are quite in control. So this is where I say, I come in like, what do you want to do with your life? Because people tell you like, oh, I'm going to scroll, I'm going to do this. This is addictive, it's fun. I see a car crash or this, and which we should not be seeing. That's a scary thing. And we go from like puppy videos to something about suicide or something.
I do like the talking puppy videos.
I know. So, and there is, and we do see too research, like if you have no connection or social media, there are a ton of benefits too. So it's great. It's just managing the intention and making sure even so much as like, what do you follow? What are the algorithms? So if you see, something that is horrible like that, I would report it and say, nope, don't want this. Yeah. But when you start over consuming and it becomes, 20 minutes and then 30 and then 6 hours later you're there. Or in my dissertation, I was interviewing people about their relationship with their phone. And a couple of them are like, I don't go to the gym half the days of the week because I end up scrolling and then it ends up being midnight. So that's a problem. Or one that really concerned me where I was like, ooh, we're not paying attention to this is they scrolled for 4 or 5 hours and had physical symptoms of being sick. So we're actually having these like physical manifestations. And that's why it's so important to kind of wake up and choose how you want to live your life.
Right now with the politics going on in the United States, and we tend to have right now 2 teams that are fighting each other on the internet. And I've witnessed that where that's all they're doing is on their phone because of their strong political views. Now, for me, as a pickleball person, my biggest addiction, and I don't think it's interfered with my life because I'm not on there for hours, but is pickleball content.
Yes.
On Facebook. I put some out. I want to look at how many views I had, what are the comments, or I want to watch other people's, but because I have an addiction to pickleball, it does cross over to social media.
When it comes to politics, that is so heavy and hard right now. And I've told Kevin before, for me, the only place in the world, even I love hiking, I work out, I have 2 hip replacements, so it's really important for me to lift at least twice a week. The only place where I actually forget though about the outside world is when I'm in pickleball and when I'm in that really immersive experience. So I can imagine for those people who aren't in those experiences, you're kind of overwhelmed. And social media, again, the way they make money is by the engagement. So the more controversial, the more divided we are, the more money that they make. So that's a problem.
They like that then.
They like that, which is unfortunate. But there's a big movement coming of like, wait, people are now understanding this isn't a good thing. Also, if you've heard of the dead internet theory, my sister's also a researcher, so it's talking about the number of bots, how many people aren't actually people. Like, I'm a marketing professor, so I'm like hip with it, right? Like I know what's going on, but others need to know like bots are probably like 40% of the comments that are happening. The streaming platforms, Twitch, if you've heard of that. Right. You watch people playing video games. They actually created a new algorithm to get rid of their bots, and their viewership went down by like 60%. It was crazy. So that's something really important to know. So when you're going through and reading those things, because I get stuck in it too, I'm very upset right now about what's happening, and I think it's really important.
How would you know if they're a bot or not?
If you click on the comment and you go and you see they have no followers, they were recently made, it's some random picture. Sometimes, I am on Threads, for example. That's a different social media platform similar to Twitter or X from back in the day. but like you can just click and see. Sometimes like I don't really have any followers or anything like that, but I've been on, for the last few years. But if they're saying some cheeky comments and they have no posts, they're like sketchy, but then, like at what time do you really want to look through all of this stuff? But that's why I have to remind myself, okay, like half these people are bots. I'm not going to fight with people on the internet. I'm going to go do what I can in my community. I'm going to go play pickleball and make sure my cup is full. And then I can go and help the different causes that I care about in real life versus being this. And part of the digital wellness certification that I have, one of the dimensions of that is digital citizenship. So how are you showing up online? How are you being an ally? How are you being intentional with your time? Because you can get sucked into it. And then again, like people are just making money off of you. That's the best thing that I've found to say, especially to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, of like, they're just making money off of you. Then it's like, oh, do I really want to spend, 4 hours on Instagram or TikTok?
With pickleball, Facebook is generally how we communicate.
And the groups too are fantastic.
And we have the pickleball forum, we have the kitchen, those are the two big, but then we have all, little offshoots from all those, probably 2,000 or 3,000 Facebook friends. And I get requests. First thing I look at is, I want to see their site. And when I see one that has the same picture of them 20 times, and I don't even see a pickleball picture, because then no. And you have to, is that how they're hacking me? Is when I friend someone that I shouldn't friend?
Yes, it can be that way. A really easy way for hackers too is like, they'll say, what's your favorite color? What's your this? What's your this? Have you seen those before?
No.
Like, okay, so then you're good.
Okay.
But other people listening, so if it's like, what's your favorite thing, animal, and da-da-da-da-da, those are how people figure out your password. So don't do it. And then people can search for those if you have
I see.
If you have a public profile. It can be that. A lot of this stuff is getting automated too, which is super annoying. And I know Meta's not doing anything about it because what they want you to do is pay for the verification so that you, first of all, insert your license, which I think is a little creepy, but also that's another way for them to make money is using that verification service. So.
What would you say to this? Because I'm sure we have people that are going to watch this and go, maybe I am a little bit addicted. I spent screen time. It tells you, and you go, 3 hours today.
That's good. That's not bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My students are like at 8-10 hours
my
sometimes.
God. Okay.
And that's without their laptops.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's say they realize that, okay, I do have a problem.
Yeah.
What's your advice? How do you have some? Do you have some easy kind of things could you tell us about those?
Yeah, I think first thing is like having the awareness about it is so important.
It's like alcoholism, right?
Yeah.
With admitting it that you have a problem.
Admitting it, and there's no judgment. I struggle with my screen time still to this day. There are times when I know, I'm a marketer, so I have people who work in social media marketing. Their screen time is 10 or 12 hours because they are literally out and doing
it's their
things.
job.
It's their job,
Okay.
so it's different. So figuring out what works best for you. And it takes time, be gentle, but for me, I do monitor my screen time and I feel my best and less anxious and more happy and joyful when my screen time's between 2.5 and 4.5 hours. If I have a really rough week, I had one a couple weeks ago, I had some bad news about one of my pups and I was like, I saw my screen time went up to like 6.5, 7 hours and I was like, and I was more anxious that week too. So figure out what works for you. I would definitely encourage you, one of the best things we can do is leave your phone out of the bedroom. When your brain is waking up and before you go to bed, that is when it is wiring itself or coding itself for the end of the day. It's getting out all the junk and doing this. Research really shows us that blue light can impact our sleep big time. So at least 30 minutes before, put your phone away, put it in another room. I put it in my underwear drawer or whatever because I'm like, okay, I just know if I sleep next to it,
so
my
don't
brain
use
knows.
it as your alarm to get up in the morning.
I would super encourage you. I do have an analog alarm. I think that's important. I just got one, off of Amazon or wherever you can get one that's reliable. I would recommend that. I would recommend scheduling time when you're not on your phone. So think about like I'm going out to dinner with my family, or when I was coaching, we did that. We took the kids' phones when we were playing, and my kids hated it. And then by like 2 or 3 weeks in, they were like, this is awesome. And I modeled that behavior too. So if it's something that you're struggling with your kids, there's going to be time when you need to be on your phones, and there's time like, let's put this away during this activity. Take some breaks. And then something that I do every single day, and Jonathan Haidt coined the word, but awe walks, and I make my students do an awe walk activity. Awe walks literally is leave your phone at home, make sure you're safe, but I go for a walk with my dog. I have my Oura ring, so I do like to track my steps, but I would remove my Apple Watch when I had that. And we just walk around and we listen to the birds, and I don't have headphones in. So if you notice, like for my students who are walking to class or executives who are on their phone during meetings, like take that time to disconnect. It doesn't need to be, 6 hours for the day, but start with half an hour, start with a 20-minute break, because what we'll do, even if we're working from home, we'll go lay down on the couch and then, you're scrolling for 20 minutes instead of taking an actual break. Another really underrated form of giving your brain some peace and some time to recharge is walking. It doesn't have to be like a 30-minute HIIT workout. Just go walk for 10 minutes. Go walk to your mailbox. Give your eyes a break. And these are all like, if somebody told me this, a couple years ago, or like a therapist was like, write 3 things that you're grateful for, I'd be like, shut up. That is not great. But there is neuroscience showing that things like that, writing 3 things that you're grateful for the start of the day, that can really help calm our brains and help our prefrontal cortex relax. And then another really good thing that I tell my students, tell people that I do these workshops with, is something really quickly is the .B. If you're starting to feel anxious, if you're scrolling and you can feel yourself not breathing, it's something that we call email apnea. I don't know if you know, when you get on your phone, we don't actually breathe as much as we should. So if you feel yourself holding your breath, clenching, is you stop, you feel your feet, so you put both feet on the floor, you feel your breath, so if you want to put your hand on your heart or whatever, and then you just be. So if you start feeling that like anxious thoughts, a lot of it comes down to mindfulness and like, how am I showing up? How am I behaving? I would super encourage, go out to eat with your friends. Everybody put their phone in the middle, and whoever grabs it, you pay for it. You're out.
Yeah.
That's what happens. But yeah, I would encourage like not even having it on. And there's moments like, even when I'm in class where I'm like, okay, my doctor's gonna call or whatever, I have to be on this. But yeah, it's just important to
Going to the movies, take the, of course you have to turn it off.
Please
So
turn it off.
Yeah.
Stop doing it.
Yeah.
You have an addiction. I went to, I was in Vegas last year and went to, what is that, Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. And some dude was in front of me scrolling on TikTok the entire time.
Yeah, why are you here?
I was like, and it distracted me. That's what made me mad. Yeah, there are moments, and I encourage you, if you feel this way, you're not alone and it's not your fault. But also, are you living the life that you want to live? How happy are you? How fulfilled are you? How are you spending your days? Because if it's constantly being angered by the algorithms, if it's numbing out, like there's something that you might be avoiding. And that is a little bit more intense, but I think it's important because we only have this one life, and I don't know.
When you say being anxious, I guess I'm fortunate because that's a foreign thing to me.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that would feel like.
Yeah.
I can't even, even when I was in school, I never remember having I remember being bored.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how to be bored. It's been replaced by the anxiety.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't sit there and we don't just be. And if we don't, then our brain is like, you need to have something. And that's the way social media companies have done it. It's based off of gambling. So you get those dopamine hits.
I can't remember how many times my parents said, if I said, well, there's nothing to do, go find something to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a computer. It was, okay, I'll go outside and I guess I'll dig a hole with a stick.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That is so important. And that's what with the family who doesn't have phones, we were doing that. We were playing Frisbee. We were anything, playing with looking at the ants walking down, being nice to them, not hurting them, but like just random stuff. We don't do that anymore. Instead, we grab an iPad for our kids, or we're playing Candy Crush. Like, that's amazing. Go do whatever it is for a little bit of time, but you need to schedule in time to be bored also.
Ashley, a lot of people ask me, well, aren't the kids today just awful? They'll make this, isn't it just so hard to teach them? They'll be real negative about what they feel the kids are like today. And I've felt all these years, the kids are the same.
Yeah.
They're really the same. I'm optimistic about the future of the kids. I know this is an obstacle with too much screen time and some other issues that we have today, but I'm optimistic about the kids. I think they haven't changed. But maybe maybe parents have teaching methods and parenting have changed. But how do you feel? Do you stay optimistic about the future with all this issues?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer is yes for me, because I think that, first of all, I do have a lot of hope about the future in many different ways. But if we don't have hope, then I don't really know what the point is. But when it comes to our kids, I agree with you. I do think developmentally they have changed a little bit. They need some help with social skills because it's things during the pandemic, not in anybody's control,
but
right?
that's not the fault of the kids that they don't have those social skills.
And social media companies, the way that they're developing because of short form content is also not their fault. And we also think as people, I think the pandemic and social media has taken away a little bit more from us, because if you think about yourself, at least for me, like I didn't go into big social groups for a while after the pandemic. It took me quite a bit of time. And if I'm in big crowds or something, I'm like, that was not something that bothered me before. So maybe we don't realize how much impact it's had on ourselves and our brains too. But I just think that kids want to have fun. They have lovely hearts. They want to play. Kids want your attention. They want to be loved. So I have, met professors in my past that are maybe like the archetype, pretty grumpy and like, kids these days too, right? And
And they don't pop out of the womb different than they did 20 years ago. It's just
my brain is like,
the surroundings.
What are you doing differently?
Yes.
Like, why aren't you able to connect with these people? Because my classes are super engaged. We do a lot of play in my class too. We play with Legos. We're doing a simulation right now where they're fighting to the death with each other for paper plate awards. So like we do fun things. I think that kids love that. I'm hopeful. Thankfully, I have firsthand experience with the kids that I know in my lives, raised by amazing parents who show up for their kids and are at their karate things, at their engineering games, at their bringing them to pickleball, bringing them to go play and do different things and letting them run outside and doing all of that. So I know that there are people out there that are doing it. I'm very hopeful for the way that some of our legislation is moving. So it is slow, but it's catching up. And I'd say that I'm very hopeful because we have this inherent need for connection, especially with AI and social media. People want it, we crave it, so we just need to slow down ourselves and give it to our kids. Our society here in the US is so like, go, go, go. You're not allowed to stop. You have to work 20 hours a day. I used to work 12 or 16 hours a day in volleyball. I don't do that anymore. My health comes first, so I work out, schedule my workouts, schedule my pickleball time, and then I schedule my work beyond that. I need to work on the foods part of that with cooking, because if I get too busy, then I don't. But I don't know, it's part of this permission that you need to give yourself. So same with your kids, like, yes, important, or homework is so important. Yes, being up to date and doing the things, but like go outside and play with a Frisbee in your backyard or something. I am very hopeful, and I think that.
Well, you've seen how my place is set up. This is just a play.
Yeah.
So table tennis, hockey, driving. Miniature bowling up there, shuffleboard, pinball,
all of it.
Play games, and then if you go outside, I have Frisbee golf, and then I have real golf with some different greens. I have a putting green up there. Playing has always been important to me. Well, that's one reason I was a PE teacher, and I think healthy play is really nothing better for the kids.
Go smack down with Huno. I love playing with adults, with kids, with any of that stuff.
Our parents might not have liked this when we were kids. We had comic books.
Yeah.
Do kids read comic books anymore?
There is, some kids I know do. There is a...
That seems like a big step up compared to just sitting on a screen.
I know, or reading books too. There's definitely a resurgence, and people are being more intentional. Think about like Oregon schools and other schools across the country are doing this too. Being more intentional during breaks, recess, book time, board time, like mindfulness time. There's a couple of people that I knew when I worked in San Antonio that had a company around this, that were bringing it into schools of like, we're just gonna sit and not be doing this. Or comic books, amazing. And tactily, if that's the word, it's better to have a physical book. But if you have a Kindle and stuff too, that's cool. But I would encourage people to do this. And we're making it swing back this way because people are so done with the brain rot fatigue. They're done.
Maybe Mad Magazine will come back then. So.
I don't know. Haven't heard that, but
that was my vice. I love Mad Magazine.
Yeah, that would be amazing. There are things that are coming back, and I'm excited for that. And coloring. There's adult
Oh,
coloring
yeah.
books. There's kid coloring books.
Yeah.
Did that too. Do that with my students. I've just been certified also with Lego Series Play. I play with a ton of Legos.
Yeah.
They're very pricey, but I do workshops with adults in the workplace who haven't played with Legos in years. Or if they did, it's just with their kids kind of messing around versus like, you go build something. I don't know. It doesn't have to be anything.
When I was teaching elementary PE, the kids our schedule was you had PE every other day.
Yeah.
And you'd like kids to move every day, right? And so we would encourage the classroom teachers and the ones that were willing to take fitness breaks in the classroom where, let's get up and let's turn on some music and dance for a little bit, or let's juggle.
Yeah.
I'd give out juggling equipment for the classroom, and they'd be juggling scarves. Everybody in my school could juggle, by the way.
That's amazing.
And we taught it in PE, but also
Right.
it was reinforced in the classroom.
Yeah.
And that was before we had all. I've been retired now 16 years, so
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'm sure
Yeah,
it's
we
different.
we didn't have iPhones.
Yeah.
A couple of teachers had them.
Right,
And that
yeah.
was it. There was no students that had an iPhone.
And at that point, I think Facebook was still only for college kids,
Oh, I didn't
right?
even know.
It
I didn't
wasn't
know
even a
what
thing.
Facebook was until about 2 years after I retired. I retired in 2009, so we're talking about
Yeah.
like I heard this new thing,
Yeah.
Facebook. What's that?
I know. What's interesting is you talked about earlier being on screens in schools. I just saw yesterday, along with the trial, Sweden invested like $15 million or maybe $115 million. Don't quote me on that. But 2009 is when they started investing in screens. Now they're going back to physical books. So they were like, is it, and you asked earlier, is it too much? So there is this, like, we know, just like smoking, we didn't know it was bad.
Yeah.
Now we know it's bad, and it's going to swing back a little bit.
At the last school I opened, I've opened 3 schools, we were doing a fundraiser, the Parent Teachers Club, to build a rock wall in my gym.
Cool.
So this is in 1999 or 2000. And a lot of the teachers were upset that we were wasting money on that when we should be buying computers.
Yeah.
Now the computers were out of date 3 years later,
Yeah.
but my rock wall was never out of date.
Yeah. And fun
and
and,
yeah.
engaging and
Yeah.
probably
it's still
kids
being
look
used
forward to
today
it.
here, a long time
Yeah.
later, that's still being used.
Yeah, it's tough because and even us at the college level, right? Like, money is scarce and you want the best for your kids. But for me, that sounds like you need money for this and this, right? And that would have solved those problems. But yeah, the more offline, and again, in Jonathan Haidt's book, he talks about the first part is really about all the digital wellness, screen time, and all of this, and how that's been impacted. And then the second part is we need to let our kids play and like get hurt and fight with each other, but not like, beat each other up, but
No.
like, they need to resolve conflict and learn these social skills because
Exactly.
we're so helicopter parenty. And it's just beautiful for me that I have friends who engage in stuff like that. So
Have
I
you
do
ever
hope.
heard of Jim Fay, Love and Logic? Have you ever heard of this?
That does sound
So
familiar.
it was all about teaching kids to solve the conflicts.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're on
Yeah.
the playground and
Yeah.
you're playing basketball. There was a point we got to where the kids could not play a basketball game without a referee.
Right. Yeah, that's
Because
silly.
all they were used to was everything being so organized. The only time they played a game was when they were on this team, their parents took them to, and there was a referee and organized, where they didn't know how to play by themselves
Yeah.
without a referee or without someone supervising.
Yep.
And, my day, I'm going to really sound old here, but I am old, I'm 70, but we just walked to the playground, we got on
Exactly.
our bike, we'd show up for lunch and for dinner, and we were gone on those nice days. And so much fun I had on that playground playing baseball, basketball, football. Well, we didn't, that wasn't popular at my school,
Yeah, yeah.
but, just the games that you would play
It's
on
to be
your
done.
own without being supervised.
Exactly,
As
yeah.
kids, we'd also get in fights.
Yes, exactly.
But it wouldn't like all a big brawl, but it'd be wind up where you're
Yeah.
wrestling and then you
Yeah.
made up and you were fine, right?
Yeah.
Well, now that doesn't happen
Yeah.
because everything is so controlled, and then before you know it, you shoot somebody. You never saw what
Yeah,
happens
you don't know
when
how
you're
to.
like you. I do remember getting in a fight with one of my best friends,
Yeah.
and we both felt horrible about it afterwards.
Yeah.
And I mean, so we got to conflict resolution ourselves, where it didn't get to a point where I've never even been in a fight. I don't even know what I don't know how to, and then it becomes escalated to where you're an adult and you have a weapon.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's concerning, and this is why this is a big deal, especially to me, because we don't know how to emotionally regulate ourselves in that way. And then, I mean, thinking of even my students, and I'm not very good with confrontation, but I always do a debate in my class. I teach marketing. It's not really relevant, but it's a skill to be able to understand the other side, especially with social media, because it paints this like there's only two sides and black and white and this and this. And if you're not perfect, then you're, complicit and you're on this side. And that's not actually what reality is. So it's important to not get stuck in those bubbles. But like, that is why it's so important for kids to have those opportunities to develop the social skills, because, we should care about this. The world is turning and going and life is busy, which is what makes it hard for us to come and do these things. But these children are going to be adults in 20 years, and it's going to impact, they're going to be in the workforce, they're going to be living. And we have a crisis now here in the US when it comes to explosive things or people just losing their minds because they just don't know
how to they haven't dealt with things.
And it's hard.
That's where the playground can be. You can learn a lot of lessons.
Yep.
And if you have a playground duty teacher who kind of lets you solve a lot.
Yes.
They come, John, really? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to? Have you told him that you didn't like that?
Yeah.
And, so.
Yes.
You teach that conflict resolution
Totally.
to how to have those skills. Kids in pickleball play.
Yeah.
I would love it if we had pickleball courts on the playground and kids could just go play, call their own lines.
Yep.
They don't need a referee.
Yep.
Learn how to do that. Yep. Learn how to solve those problems. You could do a lot of that on the pickleball court. Tell us your story with pickleball, because I know you play at Rex too.
Yeah, I play at Rex and I'm a member there. I love it so much. It is truly the only place where I get to not be engaged with my brain, thinking and when my brain hurts and all this in life. I started playing pickleball back in 2019 or so.
Right before COVID.
Yep. Yeah, it was with my advisor. So she was a D1 tennis player and is this very intense. She wins a lot of tournaments. She travels the country and plays in them. She's amazing, a wonderful human.
Where was this at?
I was at Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas.
Who is this?
Her name's Debbie Lavery.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you know her, but she's lovely. Now we still do research together. So I was like, I can't wait to play with you one day, Debbie. Now I know what's going on. And then the pandemic hit, so I stopped. I had my father passed in the middle of the pandemic, so I had a lot of things going on, and he was, 62 years old, very young, very healthy, did not ever get sick, so that was kind of a shock for our family. And in the middle of that, I played volleyball in college, and my hip was starting to degrade. By the time I finally went back to a doctor, they were like, you need to have your hip replaced, you have no cartilage left, and it's really messed up. So back in 2022 was my first hip replacement, so I didn't get back to pickleball until then. I had the opportunity to meet Kevin, the CEO at Rex, and I got to do some marketing consulting with him, which was amazing. And I knew I wanted to get into playing and getting back and more. Then my other hip was like, hey, we should have another one come out. So I had that done in 2024. It's been about a year and a couple months now. So I've been playing this last year, and it's been amazing. I enjoy it so much. I love the round robins at Rex. I love just playing. I don't care who wins or loses. That was how I was in volleyball too. Played a ton of beach volleyball. I just love to play and have fun and smile. And so many of the members at Rex are so lovely and just fun. And you get to deal with some conflict resolutions when people don't call the lines right. And that happens 1 out of 8,000 times. So it's not a big deal. But I enjoy it so much. It has truly been one of the greatest joys that I've had, because I like the competition. I like being with people. I like laughing. And it's just a lot of fun. So I'm excited. I'm going to start one of the flex leagues. I haven't done that yet. So speaking of anxiety, I have a little bit around that. But it'll be fine.
Well, that's probably the only time I feel anxiety is right before a tournament. But otherwise, But I never really thought of it as anxiety. I thought of it as nerves that are good for me in a competitive situation. If you're not nervous, it's probably a bad sign.
Yes, I think the difference for me for anxiety is when it gets out of control and you are like, I don't want to be here anymore. That's when it gets to be okay, I'm going to go avoid and run away. But I'm excited. I really am looking forward to eventually doing tournaments and stuff like that too. But just playing.
They're fun.
Yeah, I know, they're so fun.
Yeah,
I miss it.
yeah.
And we played beach volleyball. God, my sister and I did it. We learned, nope. My sister and I did play pickleball. We went to the new Tualatin location.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to the glow-in-the-dark pickleball courts, because that is one of the coolest things that I've ever done.
I have that here too.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, those are
It's so
black
cool.
lights. Yeah.
So if people are looking for something fun to do, man, that is like, we had so much fun. So my sister, unfortunately, is going to move across the country. She's getting a PhD too and going to be a professor. But we will be finding a court in Atlanta when I go visit, and she's going to come to Rex when she comes to visit.
Well, now you can find pickleball everywhere in the United States, so that's a good thing.
I know.
Well, it is a way to decrease screen time
Yes.
for all those parents that are out there and your kids. When I think of all the kids that I'm coaching that are serious players, they don't have trouble with screen time.
Yeah.
And I think, they're on the court so much. If they do have screen time, I don't see it much. So
Yeah.
that's probably an awfully good sign.
Yeah, they're immersed, they're in it.
Yeah.
There's just nothing, I mean, the feelings are just so, it's such a visceral feeling for me. I just feel so good when I leave. I'm just having so much joy and, like, again, met so many cool people, young people, old people, all walks of
Yeah.
life, and just, there's nothing more joyful for me leaving Rex versus me getting up and scrolling. I'm like, great, I just wasted, another hour yelling at people online or something, whatever
Right.
it is.
Now, if secretly after the show you could tell us a formula to get everybody addicted to the pickleball fountain of youth.
Yes,
so-
just listen to us. Listen,
We
we're
don't
gonna
mind
get
if
hypnotherapy.
we don't mind if you're do all that. So
Yeah.
But Ashley, thanks so much for coming today. And this was a different kind of topic for us, but I think it's still related to pickleball. So thank you.
Yeah, go outside, unclench your jaw, go hug a tree, or don't. Just come play pickleball. That's enough. Just come play pickleball at Rex.
Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you.
Pickleball Fountain of Youth with Hall of Famer Steve Peranto.